You say you want love, connection, success, peace, and yet, when it's finally within reach, something in you pulls back. You ghost the person who cares. You procrastinate on the dream project. You start a fight right before things get good. It doesn't make sense on the surface, but deep down, it follows a pattern. Self-sabotage is rarely random. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's protection. From what, though? From the possibility of getting what you want and losing it. Because wanting something deeply means you have something to lose. And to the nervous system, that risk can feel more dangerous than staying in the familiar discomfort you've learned to survive. We sabotage what we crave most because it threatens the stories we've told ourselves. Stories like, I'm not lovable. Nothing good lasts. If I succeed, they'll leave. When reality begins to challenge those beliefs, your brain doesn't just celebrate, it panics. Because the known pain of loneliness or failure feels safer than the unpredictable terrain of real intimacy, real growth, real joy. And so, you pull back. You downplay your desires. You find flaws. You say, I don't care that much anyway. But you do. You always did. The act of sabotage is a way of trying to stay in control. If you ruin it first, at least it's not a surprise. If you reject them before they leave, at least it doesn't catch you off guard. If you don't try, you can't fail. Healing means noticing when this pattern kicks in. It means asking, what part of me is scared right now? Not shaming that part, but sitting with it, listening. Often, it's the younger version of you, the one who got hurt when they tried. The one who learned that vulnerability equals pain. And that part still lives inside you, trying to keep you safe the only way it knows how. But you're not that child anymore. You have new tools. You can choose to show up differently. You can learn to hold the desire and the fear at the same time. You can say, I want this and I'm scared, and then choose to stay anyway. Because self-sabotage isn't a flag, a signal that something meaningful is happening, that you're nearing the edge of your comfort zone, and beyond that edge. That's where life expands. The bridge out of sabotage isn't self-punishment, it's self-compassion. It's learning to meet your fear with kindness. To remind yourself, it's safe to want. It's safe to receive. When you feel the urge to push away the good, pause, breathe, ask, what am I protecting myself from? And then gently, courageously take one small step toward what you want, again and again. That's how you stop running. That's how you build trust with yourself. That's how you finally let in what you've been craving all along. But here's the paradox. We don't sabotage ourselves because we're weak. We do it because somewhere along the way, we learned that getting what we want might not be safe. Not emotionally, not relationally, not psychologically. That dream job you've been chasing. It means more visibility, more pressure, more chances to be judged. So part of you hesitates. The love you crave. It asks you to soften, to be seen, to risk rejection. And that feels terrifying if you grew up learning that vulnerability gets punished. So you start doing this thing, where you slow down just before the finish line. Where you ghost the person who made you feel something real. Where you procrastinate the project that actually matters. And the worst part, you know you're doing it, but you can't seem to stop. Because sabotage is rarely loud, it's quiet, it's logical. It sounds like I'm just not ready yet. I'm too tired. They probably weren't the one anyway. But beneath those reasons, there's a pattern. And beneath that pattern, there's a fear. Not of failure, but of what happens if you succeed. Here's what's wild. Sometimes, success threatens our identity more than failure. Because if you've always been the underdog, the fixer, the invisible one, then becoming visible, powerful, or loved challenges the version of yourself you've learned to survive as. Your nervous system says, this isn't who we are. This isn't safe. So it pulls you back, not out of spite, but out of protection. Even joy can feel dangerous. If your body associates it with the crash that comes after, even peace can feel boring. If you've been wired for chaos, even being chosen can feel suspicious. if you're used to being left, so you start poking holes in your own happiness. You overthink, you withdraw, you make things harder than they need to be. Because at least that is familiar. And this is where it gets even trickier. The more you self-sabotage, the more your brain thinks it's confirming a truth. I knew I couldn't handle this. I knew I didn't deserve that love, that ease, that peace. It becomes a cycle, a loop. You chase safety, but reject it when it comes. You long for connection, but shrink when it gets close. You crave success, but flinch at the first sign of it. Not because you don't want these things, but because your nervous system doesn't know how to trust them yet. And this isn't a flaw. It's a response, a signal, a pattern that was once protective. But now it's just getting in the way. Because the truth is, healing isn't just about letting pain go. It's about learning how to hold good things without fear. So what do you do when your own mind feels like the enemy? You slow down, you get curious. You start noticing the exact moment you begin to shrink, not to judge it, but to name it. To say, here it is, that old script, that urge to run, to doubt, to ruin. You breathe into it, you remind yourself, this is familiar. But it's not fate, because awareness is the first interruption. The pause between the trigger and the spiral. And in that pause, you get to choose something else. You get to rewire the moment, not with force, but with kindness. That's how the loop begins to loosen. Not by shouting it down, but by gently refusing to follow it again. And every time you do, you reclaim a little more space, a little more trust, a little more freedom from the idea that you were only ever meant to break. Healing isn't about perfecting your thoughts. It's about creating enough space between them, so you can hear your own voice again. The one that isn't afraid. The one that doesn't catastrophize every silence. The one that knows how to stay in uncertainty. You won't always get it right. You'll still spiral sometimes. You'll still jump to conclusions. But now, you'll notice it faster. You'll catch the story mid-sentence, and instead of finishing it in fear, you'll leave room for truth to emerge. That's what healing looks like. Not absence of pain, but presence through it. You are not broken for needing reassurance. You are not weak for craving clarity. You are simply human, wired for connection, wired to seek meaning. But now you know. You can pause before the story completes itself. You can breathe in the space between what you feel and what is true. You can choose curiosity over fear, presence over protection. And even when your brain wants to race ahead, you can whisper, I'm safe, even here. Because healing isn't rewriting every ending. It's remembering, you don't need to. The story is still unfolding, and so are you. Gently, bravely, beautifully.